You're listening to the Industrial Talk Podcast Network.
All right, we're back. It is the Industrial Talk Podcast. This is the second in a series for the Industrial Dojo. I'm just really trying to provide content that will make you a better industrial professional, and I know that your time is very precious, so I really and truly appreciate your time and sticking with the Industrial Talk Podcast. Hopefully, we'll all learn something from this Industrial Dojo. So anyway, here we go. Don't want to waste any more time. All right. Thank you very much for once again joining the Industrial Talk Podcast. I'm going to keep this dojo program short, direct, tactical, so that hopefully you can take what you hear from this particular program and apply it to your day-to-day business. So thanks again. Okay. So I'm thinking, this is sort of this is my age, right? I'm saying, okay. I as a kid, I used to create music mix, and those music mixes used to take a long time to create, right? They just I did it on cassette, didn't do it on 8-track, but I did it on cassette, and then of course the DVD came out, CDs came out, right? And so I do some stuff there, right? But it took time, and it took a lot of manipulation, a lot of, effort. And then, of course, you'd have your music, and then, of course, you'd collect all of that. So I'm sitting there, and I've got a Spotify account out there called Industrial Pump. And I'm working out, and I use that to just get me motivated to go lift weights or do some cardio. But I'm sitting there thinking, oh, I can add that song to this industrial music mix pump and just add that one. And then I can just sort of look around and root around and say, oh, that's a pretty cool song, and then add it there. And now, in the beauty of technology, I've got a music mix called Industrial Pump on Spotify, and it just grows and it expands. And if I don't like something, I remove it, and then anybody can listen to it. So if you're out there and you want to listen to some of my music, which is pretty cool, I don't want to hear anybody say, oh, no, that's not. I use it to work out, and you can always fast forward. You just zip through it, right? I love technology, so I was thinking about that today, and pass it on. Get out there, Spotify, and create a music mix for you that talks to your heart or mind or whatever gets you motivated. Okay, the last time we spoke, we talked about just sort of getting that mind right. We're going to go into the details associated with my journey of how I sort of got here, and you're going to learn more about that. And we're going to really focus on sales and marketing and strategies to fill that funnel, and then, of course, branding and all that good stuff. Now, the challenge is, of course, is that we've got to get our mind right? We've got to have the right mindset to be able to even begin to effectively get into sales and marketing and thinking clearly and what is really right. And so right now, we're going to talk just this dojo alone. We're going to start talking about correct thinking. And correct thinking, from my perspective, is that clarity of thought, not getting pulled down by fear, not getting distracted by past situations that affect your decisions and that pull you back. We're not about playing defense. We're not about allowing those thoughts and feelings and all of those issues that we all go through. It's not like, this person doesn't have that problem, but this person does. And I'm always fascinated by the individual that I know, me personally, or anybody else that just persevere, that just says, I'm just going to get back up. I'm going to continue to push. I don't care what people think in that. I'm going to continue to do what is right for my company, for myself, for my family, for whatever that purpose might be, but be able to push effectively. So let's go through some of the things that when I start talking about correct thinking. This is your mind, right? Correct thinking in the building of an industrial leader, right? So I've got some notes here, and I think, okay, we always talk about failure. That is a bad word, right? Nobody likes to fail. Nobody likes to feel of the failing. And a lot of people through that don't really live life to the fullest because there's that fear of failure in your profession, in your private life, whatever it might be. What is failure? What is the worst thing? Now, for me personally, it's not life or death, right? So failure is just sort of a mindset. Me personally, came to the conclusion that I want to fail. And the reason I want to fail is because I want to learn. And to effectively learn, I've got to fail. I've got to try. I've got to experiment. I've got to put myself out there in such a way that I fail. And then I get back up and I'll say, I don't do that. So in that correct thinking, going forward, I challenge you to not fear failure. Think through that. Do not fear failure. Which then brings me to the second point is fear. What are we going to fear about? When I think about fear, I think about World War II. I think about the individuals that are, storming the beaches of Normandy. I can't even imagine the level of fear that existed. And all we're looking at is a business going out there and potentially failing, but fearing that. I want you to be very aware and very sensitive and ask that question each and every day. Are you being driven by fear? Because if that is, you've got to internally think to yourself, no, not going to do that. Not going to allow my mind to play those games. So I'm not going to fear failure, and I'm not going to fear anything. And I'm going to go out there because my life is not in jeopardy here. So I'm going to do everything I can. The other point that I want to make sure that is a fallacy, which is a dream, which is just pie in the sky, right? Is this, if I accomplish this, fill in the blank, I will be happy. So if I accomplish this, fill in the blank, I will be happy for the rest of my life. I want to make sure that does not exist. I know people who make millions and millions of dollars and they're not happy. I know people who make, 50, 60,000 a year and they're just perfectly happy because they get to do the things that they want to do. So when you start saying, hey, if I do this, I will be happy for the rest of my life, that is not correct thinking. There will always be issues. There will always be challenges. And as I challenge you to not be frightened or fearful of failure, I'm saying, hey, you live your life, you play offense, you move forward, you move that ball, I use a sports analogy, move that ball forward, and it's always going to be just keep pushing. So remove that thought of saying, if I fill in the blank, I will be happy, because you're setting yourself up for tremendous disappointment, and it's not correct thinking. The other areas that I want to highlight is your failures, my failures, everybody's failures, because we all fail in some way, shape, or form, and it's all, various degrees of failure. Is that overshadowing your successes? Meaning, if I had a great day, had this, and then I had somebody come back to me and said, Scott, I didn't like this, that, or the other thing. It's amazing. Even in my mind, I'll sit there and I'll go, what? And I'll focus and obsess, because I'm always wound pretty tight anyway. I'll obsess over that particular comment. I could have 1,000 great comments and that one individual saying, hey, That is an example of my failures overshadowing my success. And it just brings me down. And it's not correct thinking. The correct thinking is, oh, okay, thank you. Let me learn from that. And I'm going to move over here and think, hey, thumbs up. I've done a great job. I've had a great time. The other area is past failures determine who you are. We are not defined by our failures. But me too, we define ourselves from our past failures. I have plenty. I can allow my past failures to determine who I might be. But that's not correct thinking. That's not correct thinking at all. So also, here we are, past activities. So we've got past failures and then past activities defining who we are. We stop that today. And then the last two is it's everybody, everything, nobody, nothing, always, never. Those terms, in light of what we're talking about, getting the correct thinking, the mindset, we've got to be very aware of those terms as well. So I challenge you, because we're running up against the end of the time here, I challenge you to not fear failures. Do not be frightened. Do not sit there and say, if I did this, I will be happy. What I challenge you is to be very sensitive and aware of that. Get the mind thinking properly, right? And move forward, play offense. Do not pull back and have, for me, I always have I like to have a good time. That's sort of that one side of me. I have a lot of weaknesses, and one of the things that I do like to have a good time. I'm challenging you to think correctly, to change that thinking, because as we go into what we're talking about here, when we go into thinking, okay, I want sales and marketing, I'm going to be going, floor to the wall, whatever. I'm going to go as fast as I possibly can. We've got to have right thinking. We've got to not fall into the mind telling us lies. So let's wrap it up. Go out there. Embrace failure. Do not be frightened. And do not allow the past to dictate who you are today. Have a great day. Be safe. And I will talk to you tomorrow.